Okay, I'm Susan Loubet for Women's Focus. I'm talking today to Laurie Medonis, who has been traveling around New Mexico. Welcome to Women's Focus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell us about your travel and what you did in Las Cruces, because that's where you started in New Mexico.
Yes, we went to the Feminist Border Arts, which is an amazing film festival in Las Cruces. And there were so many people that came together. I was impressed by the number of staff that actually were there for this film festival. And, we had people that came and stayed. We did a Q&A. They asked questions, and it was actually really engaging. And it also was a zine fest, so it brought all these feminists together and people that traveled from all over to come to this location. And I got to meet some really really cool women. It was inspiring.
I didn't realize that it was a feminist gathering. In fact, I didn't know there was a feminist gathering in Las Cruces. Is this centered around the university, or what group was it? Or could you tell?
So it is part of the university, something that they have put on, and so some of the staff are actually professors. And so there is this connection with the students that are there, that it gets to brings people from other places, but also the students that are there that are interested in film get to show up as well. So I'm not sure how long the film festival has been around for. And like I said, I was very impressed with how they organized it, how many people showed up. They had merch at one of the tables and like really amazing stickers. Yeah, it was great. It was a good time.
We should tell listeners what the name of the film is that you're involved that you were the director of.
Yes, it's a culinary uprising, the story of Bloodroot.
Okay. And the thing that was interesting to me is it's a story about a women's restaurant that is, I guess it's still going on in Connecticut.
Yep, it opened in 1977. It's been around for 48 years. Feminist restaurant. It has that right on the sign. And yeah, it's going strong. Noel is running it. And I mean, it is one of my favorite places to go to in the world.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens when you go there? Besides, you get fed, and what else?
I am inspired when I show up. I feel relaxed and calm, and I feel held. The moment I walk in there, it's like a love and comfort and a hug.
Why?
It's the atmosphere of this space, the women who work there, and also building relationships with them as I've been there for so long now. I mean, going on 5 years, going to Bloodroot and exploring it and meeting all these amazing people. And there's also the lighting and the ambiance that has the tungsten, the warmth, and the nourishment of the food.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we said it's in Bridgeport, Connecticut, right? Is
Yes.
that right?
Yep, it's in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Okay. Which is kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely some stores around there. Where the restaurant is, it is in the middle of a neighborhood, which is really interesting. And Bridgeport's very diverse, and Bloodroot is on the Long Island Sound, so
Oh.
there are stores down the street. But I think it's a really interesting spot, being that Bridgeport is so diverse with different communities coming together, and so where Bloodroot is, it does bring a lot of cultures to it.
Okay. Is it a women-only restaurant? Do they say that, or is what is it like?
Well, they are inclusive of anyone, so you could be male, female, anyone, and can show up. And it's something where over time it's shifted a little bit, being that the focus was predominantly on women when it first opened, and they did have Wednesday nights only for women, which was like the Goody Nap Society. And for those who want to watch the documentary, you'll learn more about that. But it is for anyone.
Okay. And do you just go and eat, or do they have like discussions, or do you sort of meet the other women who are there? What happens?
Well, people will show up and hang out and connect with one another. So sometimes there are gatherings that groups will organize, monthly gatherings and book groups and other groups. I mean, what's really amazing is people will connect there, and there's so much that happens there that I don't even know about, and I made the documentary. So it's not necessarily organized things that are like posted somewhere. It's groups of people that will organize it themselves. And I mean, they've had funerals there, weddings.
Oh.
So, I mean, it is really a place that people are connected with and love so much and cherish that they'll make requests of the restaurant of Knoll to see if they can have an event there or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask whether women come from far away or it's mostly local women, but it sounds like it's sort of a combination. Is it the sort of place where whenever you're going by there, you make sure you stop, or what happens? I was wondering whether people just go there and they know that it's there, and so they make a special effort to go there. Do they come from far and near, or do they always make a plan to stop whenever they're in the neighborhood? What sort of place is it?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of people that are local that will come, especially in the Fairfield area. And then there's people that will travel from afar. And some of them have heard about it from it being a vegan restaurant and being really, really good and having high ratings. Other people have found out about it through friends. I've seen people come in there that have asked specifically for ice cream. They were looking for vegan ice cream and they saw it and they Googled it and they showed up and they were so excited. Like, this ice cream's amazing. So it really is all different ways that people come together. I mean, I met a family who drove from Florida 17 hours to get there.
Oh.
And it was fascinating. It was 10 minutes before the restaurant closed. And they said, "Oh, can you stay open for us? We want to eat here. We just drove 17 hours. So Bloodroot, yeah, Noel said, of course, we'll stick around. You can eat here. That's not something that they normally do, though. It was, and that, my point is, just goes back to the community and connection that they met them and really got that they had driven from all that distance and how they were excited to be there at Bloodroot, which is what oftentimes that comes up. And I've met people who've driven 8 hours and from some other location and moved in their son to college and then came back the same day and got there before Bloodroot closed. So it is a place that people will travel from afar.
How do people find out about it? I mean, I've never heard of it, and I'm back east from time to time. So how do people find out about it?
I would say a lot of it is word of mouth. And again, if you're in specific communities, a vegan community, you would most likely come across that. If you're in the feminism community and that's something you're at a college and you study it, education-wise, there are some universities near there, so that might be another route of why you would find out about it. I found out about it because of my old roommate, who's a good friend of mine, grew up in Westport, Connecticut, and he's vegan. So that's a common place that he goes to, and his mom introduced him to it. And yeah, I mean, the food is so good. And you've got diversity and food from different countries, so it really it brings people together.
Okay. I think you said how long it's been there, but let's repeat that.
48 years. Yeah,
Wow.
Since 1977.
And is it do you know who owns it?
Noel Fury owns it.
Oh.
Selma had owned it with her, and she passed away in February. So February 6th, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what you're doing. You, well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background first? Yeah, so I am a filmmaker. My name is Laurie Medonis, and I am really interested in telling stories, definitely connected to women and having women's voices be heard. And I am just so attracted to those kinds of stories. And usually when I go and travel places, I get to meet people. And when I hear what they're up to and what they're passionate about, it pulls me in. And then I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing story I want to tell. Because a lot of times there's stories that are told in streaming networks and on film, and there are a lot of stories that aren't told. Those are the ones that I'm very curious about. And through traveling, I get to meet amazing people and find out about stores and these places that I was like, wow, like this is a diamond in the rough. And so I really am intrigued by the storytelling and food and culture. So a lot of that connected with with the documentary because it's in alignment with who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you become a filmmaker?
I became a filmmaker when I would say probably even when I was 7 years old. My dad was a filmmaker, and he'd have his camera with him all the time. A big one of those like big cameras back in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. I don't even know what model it was, but he would film all the time and record, and then more from the like documentary style of seeing what's in front of you. And I was very intrigued by that, and I have a big family, so seeing this home footage replay over and over again, and I like loved being in that environment. Then I went to college and studied broadcasting, and as in broadcasting I was a reporter, so I would interview people, specifically sports, and then it expanded to other topics where I would tell profile stories on some interesting thing that I came across. And then I decided to just keep digging deeper, and then I started making short films and other documentaries. Yeah. So.
Okay. Tell us what you do in this film. What do we see about the? I mean, obviously it's about the restaurant, but what happens, or what do we see?
So
it doesn't have a plot, right?
Yeah, well, what we see is we see these amazing women and who work really hard at the restaurant, and what they have created all these years, and the culture, their backgrounds, like how did they come to the restaurant, when did it start, why did it start, and we get to follow their journey. And not only do we follow their journey, we also follow the customers who come in there, and some of them that share what their experience with it is. I really want people to experience the love and the connection with the restaurant and the community aspect of it to get like a deeper understanding of it. So there's some topics that are talked about more thoroughly and some that aren't. But you do get a sense of the atmosphere and the love that this place has. And the food, the enjoyment of the food, and the close-ups of the food. That was very important to Selma, to have food in it, and to be around such incredible women at their age and the passion that they have was a privilege for me, and I'm very grateful that I got to have that experience.
Okay, I hadn't thought about the food, but obviously. Well, I'm glad that you made a big point of it. I'm sure that makes it more interesting. And because after all, feminists, I mean, if that's, I don't know. I can't imagine just talking to them, and I don't know. Tell me more about how you interacted with them.
A lot of what would come up for me was what my curiosity was. So I was in this place of, what does it look like to be a feminist? What is this entirely? There's so many different viewpoints on it. And then seeing their way of being at the restaurant, making the food, I was also fascinated by the food, and I don't really cook that much. So to be able to see them put like their love into it and what their excitement was. And then I would just ask them questions on the fly, whatever came up for me. And, pretty quickly they connected with me, and we just had a love with one another where they trusted me, and I would come in and I could just show up and ask them questions, and then they would show me things and I want to show you this. This is great. This would be great to include. And they would introduce me to some of the customers, which was great. They'd say, hey, you definitely want to talk to this person. They used to work here. They've got good advice and input or feedback from when they worked at the restaurant. And that was amazing, because then meeting the women who worked there, I really got an understanding of what this place was through the stories of the people that worked there.
Okay.
And then I also became friends with a lot of them as well, which was lovely.
How long did you spend making the film?
About 4 years. Yeah, lots of interviews and filming and getting connected to the storyline. It shifted because it's such in-depth, just there's so much depth to the restaurant. in so many layers. So for me, it was digging deeper and through my curiosity, and yeah, it was a fascinating process going through that and changing components around in it. And a big part of it, though, even though it took 4 years, I loved being at Bloodroot so much that it didn't really. A lot of the times, it was something that I was so excited about. It didn't have the idea of work. Like I would love being there, and so that's what made it so much more fun and gratifying for me, because I actually enjoy being there. And so filming there just stopped feeling like work.
So you kept saying, "Oh, there's more I've got to add," and things would come up, and you'd get out your camera again.
Yeah, and it just, as soon as I think that I'd be done, I dig deeper, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's another layer here. It's peeling an onion, essentially. This is hilarious, you know? And I mean, even now, even though I'm done filming, I still sometimes, when I'm there and I hear something, when they say it, when Noel says something or somebody, I think, oh, I want to grab my camera out. That was such a good soundbite. Yeah.
Okay, we're not sure whether this film will be shown in Albuquerque, but when this airs, it will have been already shown in various places in New Mexico. So tell where it's been. Unfortunately, it will have to say where it's been.
And do you mean specifically where it's been in New Mexico or other places as well? Okay, so in New Mexico, it's been in Las Cruces, and then it will be at the Center for Contemporary Arts today in Santa Fe, and then it will be in Taos next week. So that's 3 screenings in New Mexico.
Okay, and why don't you tell us a little? Are you going around the whole country?
It's not necessarily the whole country we're going around, and we are venturing to spaces that are connected in alignment with the story. So definitely spaces that are like LGBT friendly or vegan oriented or community based, art, like artistic, like spaces where they're connected with it. And so far, we've had a few screenings in Connecticut. We had one in Massachusetts. We're definitely looking at some possibilities in New York and Michigan. There's some really amazing queer spaces in Michigan, and yeah, and we're still having fun with it and looking into it. You know, we're in the film festival tour, so this is a celebration of the documentary and of the community aspect of it, almost as if it's a movement to celebrate what it looks like when you create the life that you want to create. And Selma would say this. She would say, you know, if what you want to do doesn't already exist, go out and create it, and like-minded people will follow. So that's really where I'm out to create, is, you know, finding like-minded people who are interested in this, and to inspire people to create something that they want to create in the world.
And is this a film that you made yourself, by yourself, or did other people get involved sort of here and there, or what was the process?
I originally worked on it mostly by myself for a couple of years. I had some friends come and support me and film parts of it, and then I had started a program called the Team Management Leadership Program, and then within 2 weeks of that, there were 10 people on my team. So it really did expand, and then we did crowdfunding campaign. So we raised over $13,000 in a month, which was amazing. And that really gave us access to being able to film and then edit the film and do the post-sound edit as well. So it grew larger, and we still have a team now. And I'm definitely very grateful, because none of this would have happened if I didn't have additional people to support me and also believe in the vision and the message. That's something that's really incredible about this, is the number of people that have come together, because they're so connected with the documentary and with Bloodroot, and their love for Bloodroot has really opened up all these amazing opportunities where they get to be in part of the team in the process, and to be people that really appreciate Bloodroot and love Bloodroot too, keeps recycling that message.
And do you get some of the people whom you met there, who drove hundreds of miles to go to it. Are they in the film also?
Those people are not in the film, and that was just purely a director and an editor choice that just chose not to put that in there. But we do have, people, like I said, who have come from different places that are in the film, and it's not necessarily, listed in there where they came from, and it's really just something that when you go there to Bloodroot, you'll get it. You'll understand why people travel from a far distance to be there.
Okay. Are you working on anything else at this point? On a next film, or it sounds like this has sort of taken over your life.
Yeah, that's very true. It has taken over my life. I'm working on a traveling series, and that's called Beyond the Miles, which is really based on asking a few questions from people wherever they live. I like to go on a lot of road trips, asking them, what inspires them, what do they want to be remembered for, what legacy do they want to leave behind, and then what are 3 things that they've accomplished that they're most proud of, and what 3 things do they want to do. Those are just a few examples of some of the questions I ask. And really it's to get people to start thinking about their life and being in the inquiry, and then how does that relate to their community? What does that look like? Maybe something they wanted to start a business and they haven't done that, or they want to create an artist group in where they live, and they get excited. So I love meeting people in that process, and then to hear them get excited about, I want to, I met this guy who was a AAA guy, and he helped change my tire, and then he was all excited talking about music. When I interviewed him, and he's like, oh my gosh, I want to get back into playing music and doing my podcast again. So, that's what I'm working on now. And then also, I meet people, and sometimes I do community stories on restaurants, 10-minute series episodes where I go to an interesting restaurant or a store, and I find something that's fascinating, and then I create that. A lot of it is this guerrilla film style, spontaneous, and I have my equipment with me when I travel, because I never know when I'm going to find a story that I want to tell.
Okay. I don't think I asked where you're based. Where do you live?
So currently I live in Quincy, Massachusetts, and I like to call it a digital nomad as I travel. I'm working on anything film related and telling these stories. So I hop around a lot between the East Coast.
Okay. And you said you liked Santa Fe. You were having a good experience in Santa Fe. It sounds like that's the kind of thing that would just go well with Santa Fe in terms of people being interesting and people being interested.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've definitely noticed that here. There is so much art and culture here in Santa Fe that intrigues me. And they actually have this really cool event. I think it's on Canyon Road in Santa Fe, and it's the first Wednesday of the month. And this woman, I actually met her last Wednesday, that she organized this, and people came from all over to get connected to the art. And then there were some restaurants that you could buy things. And I thought it was so interesting that they closed down all the roads and to be in all this art space that I love art, to see sculptures and photographs and paintings, to bring people back, and really getting the locals and people that have moved out came back. She said it was a whole different transformation this year than the previous years. Yeah. And what I love about Santa Fe too is that there's so much eye contact here. I noticed that pretty quickly. I think the first or second day I got here and I saw people's faces, I was like, wow, they're lit up and they're smiling, and there's just this beautiful connection. And I've noticed of just sharing this documentary with people and handing out flyers, like how much excitement there is, and people are like, oh, I like to make films and I know somebody. And so it's been a really cool buzz around the film since I've been here.
It sounds like you'll be back.
Oh yeah, I'm coming back to Santa Fe. Totally coming back. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
Yeah. something else that I have really gotten from Selma Knoll and Bloodroot is that you don't need permission to start something. You just go out and start it. And it's really amazing to look at where, Selma was 40 when she started Bloodroot, 40 years old. And I look at myself and I'm 35. I just turned 35. And there's this something that I've heard a lot when I ask people questions about their life. Some people are say, I'm switching careers. I don't know what I want to do. I'm not sure. And being around Selma Knoll gave me that clarity and access to, like, it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, and you can go out there and try something, and then if you want to switch it later, you can do that. Just follow that passion, what you're excited about, and it will lead to something else. It's kind of like breadcrumbs. And that's really where I, like I said, the intention of the documentary is to have people be inspired to take an action in their life, whatever that looks like. And yeah, and get excited about it. Like, get excited to create something.
Okay. It's not often that you go to a place, you go to a restaurant or a place like that, and you really get to know the people that are there. But it sounds like in this place, you talk about them as though they are old friends.
Oh my gosh. I've spent hundreds of hours with them. And, one of my styles when I start filming is I really take a lot of time to be with the people. And I would stay there for the whole day until they closed, like even after hours, hanging out with them, watching the way that they move, the way that they show up with the customers. I like to call it that I'm a fly on the wall. I like to observe and see how people interact. And it just got to the point where sometimes they would forget that I was even there because I was there so frequently, which was what I wanted. And it translates on camera because they're so comfortable around me. And our dynamic is really quite powerful. And people who have seen the documentary has shared that with me. Like, we could see that you have a really loving connection between you and Selma Knoll. And then not to mention the customers that would show up, and I would meet them and make connections with them. And then I could call them up and do an interview or even hang out with them for my birthday. That's, and I became really close with Noel's kids, Noel's daughter specifically, Sarah, and she would come to my birthday party, and I would call her and ask her questions, and I'd also connect with Sabrina, Selma's daughter, send her an email. And so people got comfortable with me and trusted me, which was amazing.
Do you know if they started the restaurant with this in mind, or is this something that just developed over the years? It sounds when I first heard about it, it sounded like it was an idea that someone had, but now it sounds like it's something that just kind of took place over the years.
Well, yeah, so what it really started off was Selma had this vision where she wanted to have people come over to her house. And so women would come over to Bloodroot at her house, which was like having food. There would be art. Some people would sell their like photographs, and it was just women, specifically a smaller group of women. And then Selma had a dream where she opened up a restaurant on the Long Island Sound. And sure enough, as she was like going out, she came across the property that's on the Long Island Sound. And so it's just amazing that really creating it, I'm calling it manifesting, that she got to have this vision, and then it came to fruition. And then several women followed. There were a few women in the collective, like 4 and then 5, and then it's shifted over the years, so where it was just Selma and Noel at the end from that original collective. And yeah, it's I get so excited when I talk about it because of all the love and the comfort from being there.
Okay. Again, the name of the movie, the film, is a culinary uprising, the story of Bloodroot. And I'm talking to Laurie Medonis. Well, thank you for bringing this to New Mexico. I'm glad that you chose New Mexico as one of the spots.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there one other thing I can share too?
Sure.
Okay, so something else that I wanted to bring up, and this is me as an artist and what's come up for me as a filmmaker, is that Selma, when she created this, and people would interview her, and tons. I mean, they'd get interviewed by the New York Times and all these incredible, like the Washington Post. And I remember it was probably a month before she passed away, and I'd asked her, I said, Selma, do you ever, and I might start tearing up, but I said, Selma, do you ever get nervous when you do interviews? And I was like, when the New York Times calls you, and she said, no, I just want to make sure they get it right. And I just started laughing, because it's like, she was just such an incredible woman, very determined, and like no one was going to stop her vision at all. And for me, part of this journey and traveling is to share with people their story, and especially because Selma's gone, it's really, really powerful to be able to share this with the world. And for me, it's like, as a filmmaker, going out there and sharing what I've discovered, but also as myself, I look at it and I'm like, wow, like public speaking and getting nervous and all this showing up. And I look at Selma and Noel, who've been doing this for years, and they just showed up inside of what their commitment was for the restaurant, and who they were being, and how people from all walks of life would show up. And I mean, they've met so many celebrities, and they're so down to earth. You look at them and it's like these two older women, they start laughing because they're not all about the the fame. That's not what drives them. And they're very much in alignment with who they say they are and honoring what's important to them. And they'll be straight in their communication and very direct. And they're not afraid to speak their mind. And even if customers come in there, they're going to tell you, like, hey, this is like, don't say guys, like, we're women. Those kinds of things are very, like, will interrupt because of what they believe in, which is so beautiful and unique, and something that inspires me to speak my mind and, not necessarily just fit in with the crowd.
Good.
So that's what I wanted to share.
Good. Well, I think Santa Fe will be great for that. Thank you for sharing with us.
And thank you so much. Appreciate it.